Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to. This is a special gap today, right? It's all about heart. It's all about leadership, all about purpose. And it's, if you know me, it's my love language. I love all things leadership. I love all things seeing people just truly like unlock. So this was a special edition. It's kind of like our little like end of the year holiday heartfelt gap, Gap, by the way, if you don't know what it stands for, it's growth, action, and production, right? And today it was just kind of like we were blessed with the opportunity to come with a special edition of Gap, which is growth, action, and I think like it's purpose, right? And what a special honor that I have to get to do so with my partner, my friend, my brother, someone that many of you guys know and many are getting to know better. Bobby Davidowitz, Mr. Franchise, someone that I've had the privilege and honor of getting to know over the last 7, 8 years, and just every day he inspires me, and he is gonna he's definitely gonna leave you with not only just a roadmap of leadership and just some framework so that you can really end the year strong and start 2026 even stronger. But this really was special because Rebecca, but by the way, can we give a big shout out to Rebecca? Show some love in the chat. She is the one, the visionary that keeps this community every single week together with Franny behind the scenes all year long. I mean, if we reflect, we pretty much have not missed a gap this year. You guys have, it's happened with or without us on here. She is the one that keeps this moving. Gino, thank you so much for everything you do. But this session is about gratitude, leadership, purpose, gratitude. So it wouldn't make sense to do this without giving thanks to the people who make this happen every single week. And those of you who continue to show up, those of you who continue to show up every week and keep on inviting people, and whether you watch the recording afterwards, we come together every single week to pour into each other, not into you, into each other. It holds us accountable. It helps us. So I just ask you if you can do me a favor. If you've already, you committed this hour while you're on here, if someone is on your heart, or you're like, man, this person could really benefit from being on, be bold enough to extend the invite to someone that you're like, dude, they're about to have a leadership like message. You need to be on this. You were on my heart. Don't be afraid to invite someone, even last minute. You should hop on this. If you could just have it in the background. I would love to see that by the end of this call, we see the numbers double because you invited someone to this call. We pour our heart into it. I'm super excited to be here and to do this final edition with before we close out the year. So, guys, my dear friend Bobby Davidowitz, he is an investor, a leader, a coach, an entrepreneur, a visionary, someone that has poured into so many success stories that I can't wait later on to interview him. He has put together an amazing presentation for you guys, his lessons of leadership, a framework that is going to impact your business because every single one of you guys are leaders. And I want you to believe that, say it, and feel it. And if in 2025 you were just getting your foundation ready to now's the time. Say it, you are a leader, and we're going to help you become better leaders. And Bobby, I want to see you in the chat. Say, I am a leader. I am a leader, right? Bobby is going to help you, and I'm going to give the floor to Bobby. And then after that, we're going to have a little interview style. I get to interview my dear friend. So, Bobby, welcome, my friend. Take it
What
away.
what's up, my sis? Well, listen, it is really a blessing to be here with you guys. Shout out again to Rebecca for putting together this and the theme of this reflection, because it's really about reflection, right? It's really about looking backwards and seeing, what has happened. Because sometimes we're just so busy, 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 and we're just pushing, 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 and you're not seeing the miracles that have been happening. You haven't seen the transformations that have been happening. You haven't really noticed the progress that's been happening. And we sometimes get into a bad headspace because we're not really looking at what's actually happening, right? So, in preparing for this, I was like, obviously I'm gonna, me and Veronica, we love doing stuff together. I'm like, we're gonna put something powerful together for you. But I was like, man, what could I leave you guys with? So I'm gonna share something with you, which are my top 10 lessons from 2025. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Let me see. So, you guys see this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, so listen, I want to let you know first and foremost that, everything that I teach is really a journey that I'm going through, right? It's not something that I'm, coming up with because, I know so much better or anything like that. It's because I'm very aware. I'm very cognizant of what's going on and, what things mean. And I'm always reflecting on them. So, some of you guys have been to our Alliance rallies before, and I do something called the Bob Report. And I always tell people like, you know, I present this to you guys, but it really it's therapy for me, right? Like these are things that I'm going through. These are messages that I'm receiving on a monthly basis to share with you guys. So I'm gonna go through my top 10, the franchise top 10 lessons for 2025. The first one is this. You prayed for this. So oftentimes we get very stressed out that we think things aren't going the way we want to, or we're not getting the things that we want, or expectations are not being met. Okay. And there was a time earlier in 2025 where I was just not feeling myself. Like I was kind of in a dark place a little bit. I was feeling like, my business life wasn't going the way it was supposed to. My personal life wasn't going the way it was supposed to. I just kind of, and you guys know me, like I'm always like, listen, man, I'm always looking at the positive. But there was a time I was like, man, I'm spiraling a little bit, right? So I do this. Something I always do is I go for a walk sometimes. Right, I live downtown. I go to Lake Eola. Right, so I decided I'm gonna get some sun therapy, right, some walking therapy, and just go for a walk. So I'm walking around the lake, and I'm thinking about all these things that that are bothering me or things that I'm suffering about. And I see this guy, this homeless guy that was sitting on the bench, and the guy stood up and looked me dead in the eye. And it just happened to be that it was just a beautiful day out. It was one of those days in Florida. It's like low 70s. The sun was shining. There was a little breeze. And this guy stood up and looked at me and said, "We pray for this," with a big smile on his face. And I thought to myself, here's a guy who's obviously down on his luck, but has the biggest smile on his face and is grateful because it's just a beautiful day. But what the message that I heard was, you prayed for this, right? So everything that was happening in my life at the time, I had prayed for, right? Like whether it was a little bit tougher than I thought or whatever the case may be, regardless of it, I realized I'm like, I prayed for all of this. So I should be like this guy and just be grateful, right? For where we're at. So lesson number one is you prayed for this. Remember that. Number two is speed is not a good substitute for God's timing. Most of our stress comes from the fact that we believe things are supposed to happen in a particular period of time. That's where a lot of our stress is coming. We want things faster. We want these things to happen in the way that we envision them. But speed is not a good substitute for God's timing, right? And so I did this presentation before in a Bob report where, this is what success looks like, right? And there's a message in the mess that you see there, like success looks like this. And because it looks like this, you really have to take time out of the equation. Um, if you need to know when something's going to happen, I would just tell you is as long as it takes, right? Because this messy part of the success cycle, this is what life is like, right? If you're always progressing, if you want to be better, if you're constantly improving, but it's still incredibly messy. And it's important that you understand that this mess is absolutely necessary, right? So when you're thinking about speed, understand that there's something happening in this mess right here that you cannot skip. And one of my favorite verses in the Bible, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance," right? And the first message I got from that was, oh, wow, like pure joy is tied to perseverance and overcoming something. Like If there is no mess, we don't have the joy because we haven't overcome anything, right? But when it talks about the time factor of it, when I'm talking to you about not focusing so much on time, understand that this is what's happening during that time when you want it to go faster. It says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. What that means to me is that there's lessons to be learned in that mess that you would not have learned if you weren't in it. Right? So it's absolutely necessary that you go through this because perseverance needs to finish its work, right? It needs to prepare you for the next stage. Number three, if you don't expect miracles, you don't get miracles. Okay. So this kind of came up this year in one of the Bob reports because I remember this moment in time. You guys might recall that Gil and I we bought this commercial property, some years back, and it was 45,000 square feet. We wanted to create an arts district. It was this. It was a big deal for us. But hold on one second. Oops. So I tell you this story because if you don't expect miracles, you don't get them. There was a time when, so we went to go buy this building. We did not have the money. Okay, so it was a move that we took a huge risk and we were trying to find the money. And it was a $1.4 million property. The minute we signed a contract, I was freaking out because I was like, Gil, like, we need to get on this. And we went through this massive process of trying to raise the capital. We tried to raise it from 50, 60 investors. Nobody invested. And the time was running out. We had about 3 months to close on this thing. And I was freaking out from day one. Gil seemed very, very, very calm. Even I was like, Gil, you need to like, you need to be feeling this urgency because we had put so much money into this and we were going to lose it all. Our deposits had gone hard. So finally, there was about 25 days left until we had to close. We were about to lose about 200 grand. I was about to be dead broke again. It was a lot. And finally, I walk into Gil's office and he was actually feeling, I could tell he was feeling it now. Like the look on his face was slightly concerned. There was a sense of urgency. I'm like, oh, great. We're in the same place now. Great. We have this sense of urgency with 25 days left, right? But here's where the important thing happened. So I came in and I spoke to him and I saw the urgency on his face. And he's like, all right, we got to do whatever we have to do to make this happen. And I said something out of my mouth that none of you guys should ever say. And I say, yeah, okay, we'll try, but I'm not expecting a miracle. That came out of my mouth. And Gil kind of paused for a few seconds. He looked at me and he said, well, I am. And I paused because I was like, oh my gosh, man, like that is faith right there. That is what faith looks like. Like he taught me a lesson in saying that, like, hey man, like you don't get if you don't expect miracles, you don't get miracles. And if you truly have faith, then you will speak these things into existence. Okay? So that was a huge lesson for me this year. Number four is multiplication is the mandate. What does that mean? That means that actually we are meant to multiply the gifts that we've been given, right? That is actually what we were called to do. It wasn't to maintain. It wasn't to figure out how to just slide on through, be content. It was to multiply. It's to multiply. So God gives us three assets to invest. One is time, the second is talent, and the third is treasure, right? He gives us those assets to invest, to multiply, to influence others, to elevate minds, to elevate spirits. That's what multiplication looks like. And if you don't believe me, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is the parable of the talents, right? The master goes away, but before he leaves his three servants a certain amount of money according to their ability. So I love that line because God gives you what you're prepared for, right? So he gave one servant 5 talents, which is what they called money back then, 5 talents. It's kind of ironic, right? The other one, he gave 2 talents. And the third one, he gave one, all according to their ability. And as you know, two of those guys went out and invested. They multiplied the money. The guy who had 5 ended up investing it and getting 10. The guy that had 2 ended up investing and got to 4. And when the master came back, he was like, man, you guys did exactly what you're supposed to do, which is multiply. And he looked at the third guy that had gotten one. He had taken his talent and buried it in the ground. He was too scared to take a risk. He was too scared to multiply what God had given them. And in the parable, they actually call him wicked. And I heard this at church the other day. Maintenance is called wicked. Your mandate is to multiply. So that's a huge lesson for 2025. Number five is be great at being grateful. I think that it's important, and this is why we're doing this today, and we're reflecting on 2025, is I think with gratitude, you kind of have to look backwards. Like you have to stop every once in a while and connect the dots looking backward. That's something Steve Jobs said. He's like, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. In other words, start looking at these little miracles, these little things that have happened throughout the year, the progress that's happened throughout the year. Matter of fact, there's a book called The Gap and the Gain, which I suggest you guys all read. And it talks about the fact that most of us focus on the gap, like what's missing, what we don't have. And what we really should be doing is every single day before we go to sleep is write down three things that you accomplished that day. Like what's the gain? What's the progress? Because if you don't focus on that and you're not grateful about that, one, you don't have the right spirit to move forward. You don't have the juice to move forward. But we're also not being grateful and if you're not grateful, I believe that blessings begin to stop because you're not noticing the blessings. Okay? So speaking of looking backwards, this is actually where this when I think about the global alliance, I'm gonna tell you it started at this table at a kid's party. Um, I think this was Gil's twins that had a birthday, and he had told me that this guy Carlos was going to be there that had been talking to him about this thing called EXP. And so we sat at this kid's table. We're all having a great time. Obviously, we're like little kids ourselves. But I look back on this and think, wow, like this all started from this like, very persistent guy named Carlos who managed to convince Gil, which by the way, guys, selling Gil on I mean, I think Carlos probably doesn't deserves more credit for convincing Gil, if you know Gil, that EXP was the way to go, right? When he was like fighting it for so long and he just kept at it. But what did this lead to? It led to partners like Veronica and then she joined forces with us and we just kept building and this vision kept building. So I'm grateful for that and I want all of us to be great at being grateful. Like look at all the gains that are happening in your life and focus on that. Lesson number six for 2025 is seize the moments. One thing I learned this year is that, you get these windows of opportunity, right? Like, if you guys are out there and, you guys are doing the work, you guys are getting better every day, you guys are doing all these different things. Well, what happens is that you start getting blessed with opportunities, right? People start seeing you, people start seeing your energy and saying, hey, um, we need to give this person an opportunity, right? But when that opportunity comes, you got to seize the opportunity, right? Like a lot of times it's like, oh wow, I want this, I prayed for this, and then it shows up, and then we're like, ah, I'm a little scared to move forward with this. And I encourage you to have courage, especially in 2026. There's going to be those moments that you have an opportunity to step up, and I want you to seize those moments. And one of my favorite moments from this past year was at EXPCon with my sis Veronica on stage. Veronica. This is one of my favorite pictures of all year. Right, this EXPCon stage, you laughing, me doing whatever I was doing. Right, but the reason I show you this was because there was this moment that happened the day before. Right, Veronica and I were kind of iffy on what we were going to say in the 5 minutes that we were up on stage and the day before, and we were literally at sound check, and we still didn't know what we were gonna say, and she basically looked at me and said, "Hey, Bobby, this is your show. Like, this first time you're on stage at EXPCon, it's time for you to seize this moment. You should do something special. You should do something, even though we're talking about culture centers, even though we only have 5 minutes, you need to do something." And immediately I knew it was one of those moments like, oh, I have to say yes to this. Like she's right. She's right. Like I'm my first time getting on stage at EXPCon and I've got 5 minutes, but I gotta do something that's strong. And we came up with the idea of a poem, went super well. But the lesson here was, you know what? The moment showed up, and I decided that there was no other answer but yes. Okay. And I'm hoping that for you guys in 26. Number 7, alignment before acceleration. This word alignment has probably come up like 30 times this year. Like, I don't know, like more than that. Like, alignment isn't more important than acceleration. What that means is that if you're not aligned, right, you often, you're missing the fuel to keep going, right? You're just like, you're not feeling aligned. Something doesn't quite feel right. Like you're doing the work, but you're not excited about doing the work. And that usually has to do with alignment, right? So if you're thinking about getting aligned, I think that there's many things you can get aligned on, but these are three top ones for me. Number one is get aligned with your spirit, right? So if something doesn't feel right, if the energy's not right, if if it's not building you spiritually, if it's not aligned with who you are in your soul, walk away. It's just not aligned with your spirit, right? But on the flip side, seek the things that are, right? Like as you work on your spirit, as you get more aligned, you'll start to say, hey, listen, actually, that's not for me, but this is. This is for me. Like this is the direction that I want to go with. Okay. The second is your unique abilities. So you want to get aligned with your unique abilities. What are unique abilities? These are the specific talents that all of you have, right? So I have certain talents, Veronica has certain talents, but all of you have something special. You have what we call unique abilities. And when you get aligned with those, in other words, when you're starting to use those on a daily basis and you're aligned in your spirit and you're aligned in your unique abilities, you're truly enjoying what you're doing because you're in your element, right? And people will be able to tell and you'll be able to tell like, hey, I'm actually using the gifts God gave me and it's aligned with the mission and I love this, right? And the third one is your activities. Are your activities aligned with your goals? Are your activities aligned with your spirit? Are your activity aligned with your mission? Right? Make sure that you're getting aligned in those things. And if you're not feeling aligned, take a breath. Right? You don't need to keep pushing forward. Let's take some space. Let's take some time for thinking and say, hey, how do I get these things aligned so that I can come into 2026 and I'm truly embodying who I am and what I believe in. Okay. Number 8, focus on the fewer betters. So this is something my mentor likes to say. Actually, his line is fewer better deals with fewer better people through fewer deeper relationships. But the term fewer betters I always loved, right? Because basically he's saying, focus. It's time to elevate your circle. Basically, you need to assess your circle of acquaintances, friends, contacts, and decide, are they aligned with who you are and what you're trying to do? And you know, focusing on less, on the fewer betters, you're going to get more. There's going to be more opportunity, it's going to take a little courage to walk away from some of the ones that you're like, oh yeah, this person's actually not a fewer better. Like at least in my book, and I need to walk away from that. And this is a good example this year. So this is a business Bible study. So my buddy PJ, the guy on the right, the first guy on the right, he started this business Bible study at the Citrus Club in downtown, 7:30 a.m. every Thursday, right? He started it last year in 2024, and it took me about 6 months to actually go. Like he invited me. I love my boy, but I was like, cool. Like I'm on a spiritual journey, but like this is another thing. And then finally, I was like, you know what? I need to lock in, right? I need to start getting aligned with the activities of the direction that I want to go, and I want to be around fewer betters, right? So this is one of my favorite things to do every week is 7:30 a.m. go to this business Bible study. Why? Because everybody in there has aligned interests. We're both seeking a more spiritual path. We're both learning the word of God. But we're also business people and entrepreneurs. So we're understanding each other's journey. And every time I go, I get this like just this energy and this feeling like, dude, these are the kind of fewer betters I want to be around. Faith-based entrepreneurs, faith-based creators, faith-based innovators. This is my squad, right? So find your squad, find your fewer betters, And if you don't know many of them, go go seek them, right? Go. I had to go to this Bible study to meet these folks. I had to join an investor group in order to get around folks that were doing way better than me and had been investing for years and had a knowledge I didn't have. Like I had to seek that, right? It has to be intentional. Number nine, do what you already know, right? So oftentimes we are looking for a new plan, a new idea, a magic pill, but we're not doing what we already know, right? We're not doing what we already know. So I went to Puerto Rico this year for a month, right? Shout out to Puerto Rico, okay? Veronica's there right now. I'm so jealous. But I went for the whole month of August. I needed to get away, right? Like I knew it. I was like, dude, I need to go back. I need to go back to my roots from number one. Number two is I just needed to get away. Like I needed like a break. And so while I was there, though, obviously, I listen to books like all the time, and I decided to download this book on Audible called Chasing Daylight. It's a decent book. I mean, I liked it, but like every book, I don't need to love the whole thing. I just need to find that nugget. And he said something in that book that I thought was super powerful, and I hope it's powerful for you guys. And he said, we need to change the focus of our prayers from God doing what we ask or asking him what we should do. Instead, we should be praying for the courage to do what we already know, right? So there's things that we already know. There's the plan is the plan is the plan. The plan has not changed, right? And so follow the plan, right? And that's what I heard out of this. It's like, hey, you know what? You might not have all the answers, and there might be more answers coming. But let's start with what we already know we have to do, right? Let's start with that. And then finally, number 10, um, lights are meant to shine. So coming into 2026, I want you guys to realize that you've got talents, you've got unique abilities, you have God-given assets that you're supposed to invest. And we are called to be a light, not just for ourselves, but for others, right? To lead them, to be an example, to shine a light where there's darkness, right? So lights are meant to shine, right? And so one leader that, I shout him out a lot because he truly is a special person in our culture, and a good friend of mine. And that's Mr. Deontay Lawrence. I shout him out a lot. Usually has to do with discipline, right? Like he's just one of the most disciplined people that I've ever met. He's a great coach. He's a servant leader. All those different things. But what I thought about today when I said lights are meant to shine is that you have to be unapologetic about your shine, right? And if there's anything about Deontay that I can appreciate is the fact that he is unapologetic about his unique gifts and abilities and letting the world know about those. Like from his content to everything he does, he's like, listen, I am unapologetic about my beliefs. I am unapologetic about my skill set. Like and it's actually inspiring because I think a lot of the times we don't shine our light because we just feel like, oh, this is weird. Like people are going to look at us in a certain way or people are going to think a certain way about us. But in 2026, this cannot be the case. You must let your light shine. Whatever your talent is, whatever you're working towards, you're going to have to say yes to those moments and let your light shine. And the Bible says, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and it gives light to everyone in the house, right? You don't put your light under a bowl, you let it shine. So in 2026, I challenge you guys to find ways to let your light shine. I hope these top 10 have been good for you. Like I said, this is stuff that I've been going through all year, but yeah, so that's it for me. I'm gonna kick it back to my girl, Veronica. Let me
Wow.
stop.
Wow, wow, wow. Can we get the gallery up? I want to be able to see the people who are on camera. I want to be able to like just see everyone and honestly, I would love to see the chat just kind of light up. What was your favorite? What was your favorite off of the Bob report? Top 10 leadership lessons that Bobby obviously shared with us in 2025. Bobby, thank you. It's so funny the whole time. that you were talking, I always talk about like what books are some of my favorite books. And the whole time that you were talking today, the book that I have has been my favorite book this year that I've been reading, and I can't put it down. And it's something that I've never like openly shared, but it was the Bible. And this Bible has changed my life. And it's not just any Bible, it's a Bible that was gifted to me by a dear friend of mine who has become a mentor and has taught me how to read the Bible. And I didn't even like I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know where to begin on my journey of reading the Bible, but God told me where to begin. And learning to be obedient and learning to receive and to receive these blessings and not be shy about my faith has been like my true like journey in 2025. And like knowing my influence to a certain extent, some people would always tell you like, oh, you don't want to be that girl. And like this year I have gone unapologetic about my faith. And I feel like you and I are both on that same journey. And by the way, Bobby and I talked earlier, we prepped. The prep was, I got something, da 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 da. That's how we roll, obviously. Him and I, he's always ready to be prepared. And, I want to make sure I bring out the best in everyone that I'm talking to. And I'm like, what are you feeling today? He's like, I got something, Beto. Didn't tell me what was in the context of the presentation. Had no idea that he was going to open up so much about his faith journey and obviously scripture and, his men's group. And before the call started, I put this Bible on my lap because I've got books galore. It's 10x is easier than 2x, leadership lessons, emotional intelligence, rocket fuel, all the books that I've just been blessed to be able to read to help me become a better businesswoman. But I remember this year I was interviewed and someone asked me, Veronica, what are some of the books that you have read that have really impacted you? And I found myself out of alignment in one of those answers. And my husband said to me, he mouthed, why didn't you say the Bible? It has been your blessing, especially this year, because he's watched me and it has gotten him obviously closer to God and to his faith, and it's changed everything in our lives. But Bobby, I need your address because every month since I've gotten this Bible, I gift it. I've gifted this Bible to over, actually I'm lying. Sorry, I'm fibbing. I've given it more than once in a month. It's like probably like every other week I'm gifting this Bible. I've gifted it to Nick Krem. I've gifted it to Mike Krem. I've gifted it to Kendall. I've gifted it to Rebecca Soto, to Abel Gilbert, to like if God just puts you on my heart, I'm like, send me your address. I'm like weird. People are sending Christmas cards. I'm sending like this big, thick Bible that's just like it's got
Love
like
it.
it's I travel with it. And everybody that's traveled with me or knows me, I travel with this bag that my good friend Rebecca Soto gave me. And it's got scripture, but on the bottom, it's got the leadership lessons of how you can interpret it today in your real life. And I need like you got a dumb thing for me. That's how I learn. For those of you who don't know me, I'm really, I'm just I keep it simple for me. Keep it real simple because your girl here just learns differently. And then I mark it with everything. But the reason I share this with you, Bobby, is because I had no idea what you were going to share. I just knew it was going to be fire. But there's congruency in the fact that you and I just continue to just have this dynamic that is so in alignment. And you said it. And for years I've been searching for, like that posse or that crew. And I've always had so many amazing people in my life, but I just kind of would live in my own lane. And it was interesting, the fewer better. So I asked them what was one of their favorite. To me, like that was one of my favorite ones that you just said, the fewer better, right? And this year I had the opportunity to sit in a space with six beautiful women that I call my Be Still sisters, Rebecca and some other women that we just came and there was no agenda. The agenda was just to get closer to each other and just to get to know each other, but it became a faith-based like sisterhood. And we sat there and yeah, we talked about leadership lessons, but we talked more about our journey and our relationship with, God and learning to read the Bible. And I will tell you, I'm in a fewer better group now of just in so many ways to where I want people who pray for me. I want people I could pray for. I want people who I can literally not be embarrassed about sending them a Bible. And when they get it, I'm sending them like the highlighters too and everything. Cause girl, get up in there. And Bobby, I would love to get your address if you don't have this one. This is an amazing Bible. It's called the Life Application Study Bible. And I want to gift this to you if you don't have this
Yes,
one.
absolutely. I will text you
And
my
it
address.
is it is it is my public declaration, my friend, that it was
Love
on my lap, don't know why, and then you went into
it.
this leadership like reflection, and it was so authentic and so honoring God and putting God at the center of this journey that you're on and that we are on and that we get to bless people with. So like this, especially obviously it's Christmas, right? And obviously I think sometimes we forget what Christmas really means and who we're really serving and what we have the opportunity to do is bless people and bless people not with money, not with, we don't, this isn't about money. Money is, we are all meant to be abundant, right? Money comes from the good that we put out into the world. And guys, like you've got to have a different relationship with money. And actually, this helps you with the relationship with money. But I'm just on this, I'm on this wave of just like, God, what is my purpose and who can I bless today? Who can I bless with something so much deeper than another home sold, than another, another dollar? It's not about the MLS stats. It's not about the houses or the cars. It's about the heart, the purity of our heart and our people. So Bobby Davidowitz is my people. He's my better fewer. Thank you for trusting me this year in that moment where you seized it. That was another one of my favorite things that you shared, seizing the moment. And him being, I know him, and our meetings go like this. Veronica, what's the plan? I'm like, Bobby, we're gonna figure that out right now. And he's like, "Ugh," and then he starts twitching. He gets nervous because he's a planner and he needs framework in certain things. And I've learned to work with him over, the 7 years. And sometimes the plan is that squiggly line that you just said, right? And what was really interesting is when you trust that the plan is going to work out and you know the person's heart and you can be honest that I know this is making you feel uncomfortable, but you got to trust me. And you got to trust me. And what sometimes we don't recognize is leadership that isn't in the room. And let me tell you something, the way that that stage moment was supposed to happen, it was supposed to be three of us. It was supposed to be Gil, Bobby, and me. And Gil is such an amazing leader. Gil said, I need to step out. I need to bow out this one. This is Bobby's moment. And I need you to do what you do. And I'm like, I like that idea. Sometimes you got to receive the blessing. Sometimes you got to not fight it and be like, you know what, you're right. Because we had something else that we could do. And in my mind, I kept on thinking, do I step out solely? Do I let them just have it? Or how can I use my platform to like rocket fuel this moment? And that moment you refused. I think we were both kind of looking at each other like, but I remember praying about it. And I said, how can I support Bobby in this moment to be the moment that I know he's been freaking preparing behind the scenes for? The moment that he thought he was going to go on stage and do a poem at a Tony Robbins event, that was a Brent Gove event. He prepared, 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 only to get the disappointment that I couldn't sneak him on stage. But he didn't need to be snuck on stage because God was preparing him for a bigger stage in the right moment. And it was that moment. And I never forget when I said, Bob, you need to do a poem. And you were like, huh? You were like, I don't get it. And I'm like, it doesn't have to make sense, man. But just do it. This is your moment. I just want to be your Vanna White to introduce you. I'm gonna be the one that, and someone sent me a picture of me like laughing, introducing. I said, 5 minutes of fame 5 minutes they gave us a 5 minute window, and all I wanted to do was see my friend shine the way he shines. And it was one of my favorite moments to see everyone experience you and know that it needed to be a moment where you said no to going to the club that night, to going to see um Wyclef, because you had a ticket and you said, I'm gonna go back to my room and I'm gonna deliver this assignment. So you actually what you're willing to say no to as well. When you say yes to something, you say no to something else, right? You always have to remember there's a trade. And Bobby is a man of preparation, and he stood up all night. And he calls me, I mean, he sends me a voice memo and says, "Hey sis," I said, "you got to do a poem in like 30 seconds to a minute." He's like, "Yeah, I know." And then he calls me and he sends me a voice memo and says he's going to take up like almost 3 minutes. And I was like, "Bobby, okay, the floor is yours. Take all the time you want. This isn't about me. This is about you." And what you did in 5 minutes, in those 5 minutes, honestly, you were the highlight of EXPCon. Like to me, to this day, between you and Alexis Diaz, which I want to reflect on some of the people that you've impacted. You guys, to me, were EXPCon. Better than any keynote speaker, better than anybody else. You guys were my favorite. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of that. And thank you for today leading with the word and not being afraid to uh, open up about your leadership and your love for God and your love for brotherhood and helping people get closer. I wanna also recognize some of the things that I've seen and give you an opportunity to talk about those people. You guys have poured into people like Deontay. I've watched you also, just lead this culture center for so many years. And, it's not just Deontay, it's the Maevas, it's the Alexis Diaz's, it's Gil, like how you love Gil and how you honor his leadership. It's the Marissas and the Geos and the Vincent, like just the people. Like, can you tell me what it is about these special people that give themselves permission to be coached? What is some of the qualities, right, that you've noticed in these beautiful human beings that now I have people saying to me, like, dude, like, what happened to this person? They just grew like Alexis Diaz or like, man, Ranzel and like, wow, this person. And there's a common denominator. And that common denominator is, first of all, they're coachable. They're in a very amazing environment, but the leaders who believe in them, and I have to give credit to you and Bob, you and Gil. So let's talk about them real quick because I know we have people here that still
Yeah.
don't know them, and I want 2026 to be the year that they get to know you guys better.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always say when we're talking about culture centers or building culture, that it starts with a set of beliefs. And essentially all of us on this call are building culture, right? When we were talking about the fewer betters, when we're talking about our families, when we're talking about these things, right? You tend to attract the things you believe. You tend to attract the things you put energy into. And so here the foundation of all of this is that I met Gil, 11, 12 years ago, and we sat down and we started talking about our dreams. And I realized, okay, I'm a big dreamer, he's a big dreamer. Okay? Like we have these big goals, and that's the kind of people I want to be around. I want to be around big dreamers, right? I want to be around people who don't want to just maintain, they want to multiply, right? So immediately I noticed that in our first conversations. Then something, in further conversations, I realized that we shared this belief, which is we love to develop people. Like nothing, it's like that priceless thing that you can always take. You just can't take it from me. Like the fact that we pour into people, and it's not just because of our efforts. They have to do the work, but just to be a part of their growth and to see it grow. So we were both very big believers in personal development, right? We went all together, initially five of us, to a Tony Robbins event called Unleash the Power Within. And I can tell you, that was a huge game changer for us as far as like our beliefs and the kind of culture that we wanted to run. So talking about the Corinnes, the Alexis, the Ranzels, the Deontays, they're the type of humans that are attracted to this. right? Because they themselves are big dreamers. They themselves understand that multiplication is the mandate. So the reason that they're coachable is that we're already aligned, right? They're coming into a culture not because of some flashy thing, but because of that growth factor, right? So the reason that you see this kind of transformation happening in the office, that's part of it. Part of it is they're those type of people. They're attracted to those beliefs, right? They're obviously, hard workers. They do the work, right? The other thing about our culture is, we believe that people should have a stage to step up. And I got to give credit to Gil for this. Like I I'm an observer. So if you do something well, I'll pick it up. Because I'm like, "Oh, I like that. That's good." Right? One of the things that I picked up early on with Gil is that he will give you a stage, right? He will say, "Hey, that's you." Right? That's what happened that's the story you just told about me. But, let's give this person a chance to teach. Let's give this person a chance to coach. Let's give this person a chance to mentor. Let's get this person on stage. And so what happens is that it becomes an expectation that you're going to lead. Like the reason that there's so many leaders in our group, and like I said, Michael Collier, I mean, I can't even name them all, right? The reason is because they have stepped up, they have seized those moments to step up. And it's something that is expected in our culture. We are expecting, like, listen, me and Gil have said this from the beginning. It's not going to be about us. At some point in the future, you guys are going to run this thing. We might have founded the culture, but you own it, right? So with that expectation, what happens, people is like, this is just the way things are. Like people don't question it as much. That's why you see people in our office doing like not just amazing production, but agent attraction and become an icon in their first year and all those kind of things. You see those miraculous things happening because that's what we expect. Like that's our standard. And so when you set a standard, people tend to meet it, right? So I think that that's part of the reason that you see some, like I said, we can't name them all, but Renzo, Ranzel, Corinne, Tom, Jill, Jen Wade, Deontay, Michael Collier, we just got just amazing Maeve, like it's incredible to see. And a lot of those folks, I'd say 95% of them started from never doing real estate before. They started at the Alliance, right? So that's really cool for us.
It's so good. And the reason I brought them up is because I want to acknowledge, right, the fact that these people I personally have witnessed. Sometimes, like you said, you're an observer. I've observed. And this is why this season of change, even for me, has humbled me in a way where as I look back, like I had to have some self-reflection. For those of you who guys who don't know, obviously, I've had an office, Bobby's had an office, and Gil in the same market for many years, and we've been partners, but we were in a separate office, and it was a little emotional for me the other day. We had our very last event in my office, and in our office, the Fig Team office, which um, the Alliance team actually hosted their last meeting of the year at my office, and that's it. That was the last event, and I in that office, almost a decade in that office, and we closed our doors because now we are moving into this beautiful office together. Come hopefully Q1 of this year. Well, it's going to happen Q1, but I have a vision of how I want it to be unveiled, but it's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. But it took a lot for me to accept the fact that this was going to look different, but it was what I've been praying for. And going back to the quotes that you said, like what we pray for, sometimes it's gonna feel and look sometimes different than what you expected. But I will tell you, I have been praying for borrowed leadership, borrowed energy, where I was exhausted leading alone at times. And the truth is I have leaders around me, but the reality is I too need leadership, right? And for me, what I prayed for was what can I do differently? And it's just small little things to impact the people in my life that they, when I'm not around, they have the blessings of leadership around them, and they can also bless others with their leadership. And all roads led us to this moment, to where we will all be together and we will all be underneath one roof. And what I believe, we will build the blueprint of what a true culture center looks like beyond what is known today. Bobby, I have a surprise for you. I don't know if you know this, but I walked the property with our contractors, and looks like you're gonna get a roof that you want, a ceiling that you want. Might not be on the same floor you wanted it, but I will tell you, there is a very, very, very special surprise that's going to happen. And all Bobby wanted was like a roof that just a ceiling that had a certain look. And
I know
all I
this
could
sounds
think of,
I know this doesn't sound like super interesting, but you gotta understand like we're basically moving in together. So like I'm gonna be living with Veronica, okay? Gil's gonna be living with Veronica, right? So we've been working all these things out, but we all are aligned in the fact that we want this place not to look like an office, right? Like we want this place to truly look like a culture center, something like this, right? My wish list was so I have this thing against office ceiling tiles. I just the minute that I see them, I lose energy. I don't know what it is. I was like, I don't want them. I don't want this there. And I was like, can we like we have to do something with this ceiling. And by the way, there's more room up there. So I was like, okay, a higher ceiling is going to be way better and it's going to look better. So that's why she's telling you this. And real quick, I want to shout out, I'm looking at the people on this call and we mentioned a few names before, but and obviously I don't know everybody as well on this call, but people from our culture locally like Narda, Lana, Carlos, like these people have like all these people have stepped up. Even if you haven't heard of them yet, I just want you to know that I've been around a lot of these people for 4, 5, 6, 7 years and seen incredible growth. Rebecca, like all of us have, like all of us have grown. Vero, like listen, like from that first, ride we took down to Key West to right now. I mean, like the things you said today and the things we're talking about and the lifestyles that the life that we're leading right now. How about Gino Morales? This is a guy,
oh,
this is a guy that I was fortunate enough to meet through the Sotos and the group up in Wisconsin. And this guy's, has an amazing talent, steps up for the
now
entire
he's working
group,
with the elite giants. He's
servant
amazing.
leader. We got Maria, who I believe it's her birthday. I know it's
I believe
close,
her birthday may have just passed.
but happy birthday, Maria. We love you.
Actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow, perfect.
Tomorrow. Happy
So
60th.
happy
Thank
birthday,
you.
incredible person that I met and has, I remember going to Wisconsin to do an event that they put on together and we're just so impressed by her leadership.
Yeah.
So like, listen, guys, like this is what it's about being a part of the Global Alliance, right? Like we're all like this, like we want to see everybody grow. And so many of you guys are out there doing special things in your market. But I can tell you that in 2026, Global Alliance is going to truly step up and we're going to become the brand that people should know about. Like we actually talked about this. We have several meetings behind the scenes, like, who do we want to be? Like, who do we want to portray? Because a lot of these big groups at EXP, they know exactly what they're great at and then they just focus on that and they grow, right? And we figured out that, the one thing we do that almost nobody can do as good as we can do it is culture and leadership development. And if we can lead with culture and leadership development, people are attracted to that because people do want to step up. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate. And by the way, like, if you're not in our Orlando market, we want you, first of all, you're the leader that gets to do this in your market. Number two, we want to help you do it in your market. And you don't have to have a fancy office to do it. Like there is a way to build culture, and we want to be a part of your leadership development and your growth. And we want you to come and see us too, because what we gonna do in 2026 is like the doors are open. You got to consider our office. You're like, office. that you want to fly into just for a spurts of the same way you go to a conference. You want to come and just fly in to come see us. You're gonna get your dose of leadership. The other thing is, hey, if you're co-sponsored with us, we want to be the community that loves regardless of what the primary and the code looks like. We're gonna show you that who we are. We adopt people all day long. We got people who have never been in our organization upline and still felt more love here. And we just know by pure osmosis, like we're so blessed. We are just so abundant. Like if you don't feel like you have a home in your organization or you were co-sponsored and you're like, oh, well, the way it is, no, no, no. You're one of us. You're here, you're one of us. And that's what makes us so different. We've got a lot of great co-sponsor relationships that have now turned into you won't even know. Like we're like kin, you don't even know who's what. We're just all intertwined here. So like this is your invitation to like get plugged in this year with us. Like help us get better. We invite you to the table. We see you. I want to welcome the Mario Victorica group out in San Antonio. We've got Pedro. We've got Christine Smith, who also is back. I see you, girl. Anna. So many of you guys. We all just like are here together. If you're in the Orlando market, we want you to be a part of the Alliance office culture. So there's going to be more on that. If you haven't been plugged in and you've been kind of like on the fence before, we're going to get you all plugged in. But Bobby, I have one more surprise that I'm working on with the Culture Center is that imagine a world where we actually have, and I'm in the process of negotiating it, a coffee shop. It's called Coffee for the Soul. They just won a prize of Don Quixote, and I'm in negotiations with them
Yes.
to be the coffee shop inside. And they go for it's CFS, which is called Coffee for the Soul. They are a diverse coffee shop, Latina led. She's amazing. They probably just look them up because they're gonna be on the map.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And there's more.
I'm working on a wellness wing. Think IV, NAD, in-person wellness suite that's going to get the whole body. So just know your
Oh,
girl's
wow.
working some magic behind the scenes. So
IVs, NADs. I want all the letters, bro. I want all the letters.
So,
This is
anyways,
exciting.
guys, this was meant to be a leadership reflection, leadership lesson, but also just what it's like to have a podcast behind the scenes conversation with my friend, and let you guys know is we are as authentic as they come. We want to have a deeper relationship with you guys. If we don't have one yet, it starts with you just reaching out reach out. I had a great conversation with someone today who she told me about her dreams and her goals. And I'm like, dude, I can't wait to build a deeper relationship with you in 2026. Shout out to Jess Zapata. I'm talking about you, girl. So if that's you, we welcome you. We welcome you to the table. We welcome you to our world. We're ready for you to step up as leaders as well. Leaders that are here in the room today, ready to just unlock. We are here for it. Thank you for joining us on this holiday edition of gratitude right before Christmas and turned into a Bible study too. The book that someone asked, which it's called Life Application Study Bible. It is thick for a reason, but it is the word and also leadership guidance in here. And Bobby, text me your address because it'll be on your doorstep by tomorrow. I love you all. Thank you, Rebecca, for coordinating this. You are amazing, my friend. Have an amazing Christmas, guys. God bless you all.
God bless.